Welcome back to another episode of the Corporate Cowboys Podcast as we continue season 7, now episode 9, as we continue reading Into the Naked Corporation: How the Age of Transparency Will Revolutionize Business by Don Tapscott and David Ticoll. This was published in 2002 by Free Press, and we were on chapter 9. So I'll dive right in. Just a heads up. I'll be reading to you. My name is Alex. I'll be your host for the next however long it takes for us to read this chapter together. I have not pre-read it, but be aware that I'll be providing commentary as we go along, as is only right by a corporate cowboy. This chapter is titled Harnessing the Power. Harnessing the Power. In June 1998, Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, RCCL, a Liberian corporation headquartered in Miami, pleaded guilty to conspiracy and obstruction of justice. Damn, this chapter started hot. I won't be interrupting. I won't be interrupting too hard, too much, too frequently, right? I'll read through. I'll let the energy build some before I interject something witty. Continuing, the U.S. courts forced the company to pay $9 million in fines after a Coast Guard investigation proved it had intentionally and repeatedly dumped massive volumes of waste oil into the ocean, fouling the same waters whose pristine purity it touted in tourist brochures. That's not even ironic, that's just fucked. RCCL had the capability to prevent this fiasco. It had installed special devices on its cruise ships to separate waste oil from water and then filter the water for safe disposal in the ocean while storing mucky, used-up oil for legal disposal in port. But the cruise line's operations personnel had systematically bypassed the separation devices with homemade piping and poured the untreated oil-water mix directly into the ocean. Damn, that's fucked. The company promised such actions would never happen again. Jack Williams, newly appointed president, issued a statement saying, "We deeply regret our role in polluting the marine environment, and we are particularly sorry for the attempt to conceal that pollution. These acts are inexcusable, they were wrong, and we accept full responsibility for these violations." Yo, I think they're sorry they got fucking caught. But astonishingly, only a month later, another RCCL ship was found dumping oily waste overboard. Within a year, the company again pleaded guilty, this time to 23 counts of illegally polluting the ocean and tampering with evidence on ships operating in the Caribbean, off the ports of New York and Miami, and in Alaskan waters. It paid another $18 million in fines. RCCL also admitted to regularly dumping other pollutants, including chemicals from photo processing, dry cleaning, and printing into the sea. Williams blamed the problems on a group of employees who knowingly violated environmental laws and our own company policy, close quote. He added, quote, "The majority of these violations reflect a lapse in our enforcement efforts, not a lapse in our corporate conscience or our commitment to protecting the ocean," close quote. The court disagreed with its president's claim that the company's hands were clean and its employees were to blame. It found the violations so systemic, repetitive, and long-standing that the criminal conduct amounted to a routine business practice for RCCL. Damn, the court went in with no lube, dog. The firm's own compensation policies effectively led senior employees to pollute the ocean, running the oil water separators and disposing of oil waste in port cost ships hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Ships' officers' bonuses depended on keeping costs down. So those who wanted to meet their performance targets be seen to care about their jobs, and receive their year-end payouts had little choice but to dump oil into the ocean. Aw, cry me a fucking oily river, bitch. Continuing, the RCCL story shows that it's one thing to adopt a set of values and quite another to build a company that lives by them. For the new integrity to take root requires leadership, stewardship, and specific work to ensure that values-driven outcomes are embedded in every employee's performance plan. The new integrity must be as much a part of the organization as human resources, finance, information technology, or sales and marketing. These corporate functions may seem natural today, but some had to fight their way to gain legitimacy, authority, accountabilities, resources, and seats at the executive table. In this chapter, we discuss the practical how-tos of giving the new integrity a meaningful seat, and in doing so, build an open enterprise. Throughout, we will refer to a two-part, or yin and yang, in quotes, approach to values-based performance. The yin, that's the female principle in Chinese philosophy, is productive, sustainable stakeholder relationships. The yang is competitive, sustainable business practices. Integrity requires trust-based, engaged relationships based on transparency with a broad portfolio with stakeholders. It also means rethinking products, services, and business operations to maximize financial, social, and environmental objectives. Motivation, will, leadership, planning, and hard work will get you there. The next subheading here, minimal versus maximal transparency. Firms, or more specifically, firms' various operations, work at any of three levels of transparency, and they're drawn from work led by a colleague, David Wheeler. See figure 9.1. I'll briefly describe for you 9.1. It's toward the bottom of the page here. 9.1 is a triangle. Illuminati confirmed? I don't fucking know. The figure is titled, Three Value Levels of the Firm, right? And there's three levels to this triangle. It's a pyramid of sorts, right? Now, there is a scale. There is a scale on the left-hand side that goes up alongside the triangle. The arrows go both ways, though. Apparently, it's a sliding scale, right? So the higher up you go, the lower you go, right? So towards the lower end of the scale, it's labeled do minimum harm. And it gives an example of avoiding destroying value, right? So you avoid destroying value. On the upper end of the scale, it's labeled do maximum good, right? And the example for it is create maximum value. That makes sense. Now, the three levels of this pyramid are labeled as such. Level 1 is at the very bottom, right? The bottom level, it's compliance culture. And it briefly describes it as preserves value consistent with laws and norms and seeks to avoid the unacceptable destruction of value. That's economic, social, or ecological value, right? Level 2, the one in the middle, it's labeled relationship management culture. And briefly, just in brief, is the value created but typically traded off, usually after the demands of investors are satisfied. And then level 3, the very top, the tippy top, is open enterprise organization culture. And that's briefly, it maximizes the creation of value simultaneously in economic, social, and ecological terms. Very nice. Very nice. Impressive. Let's see your pyramid. Let's see your pyramid. Impressive. All right. There are a couple of points here. Level 1, I guess I should have just kept reading instead of trying to describe it to you, because it actually goes into the 3 points with 3 bullets here, and I'll go ahead and just read them. Level 1, firms focus on compliance. They obey laws and follow customary norms of behavior in society. Such firms may maximize business performance, but they only minimize negative externalities when they must, or when no effort is required. Compliance-focused firms view most transactions as win, lose, draw encounters in which their job is to seek the maximum advantage for the lowest possible cost. The lowest possible cost. And then in parentheses it says here, secret lawbreakers who pretend to be level 1 may really be level -1. Okay, the fact that you gotta throw that shit into parentheses ought to let the reader know, ought to be a fucking billboard. Welcome to corporate, dog. Welcome to fucking corporate. Level 2 firms comply with the law. Onto the second bullet. Level 2 firms comply with the law, but they go further when it comes to relationship management. They invest in strengthening relationships with close and important stakeholders, whether customers, employees, communities, or business partners, eschewing the hard win-loss mindset of level 1. Relationship managers adopt a paternalistic, trust us, we know what's good for you stance. That's funny. Sounds like the government. They apply trade-off analysis to difficult decisions. They typically provide business partners with rewards for good behavior, engage in some philanthropy, and encourage, quote, communications strategies for all. Nice. The third bullet here, level 3, open enterprises. They see transparency, stakeholder relationships, and sustainability as sources of competitive advantage. They redefine their products, services, and business processes to strengthen long-term stakeholder relationships and to achieve alignment with changing social and environmental goals. They apply transparency and engagement to stakeholder encounters, conduct genuine dialogue in an atmosphere of equity, and hold themselves accountable for commitments. Faced with difficult decisions, they seek innovative solutions that maximize value for all parties. That, my fellow listener, my fellow reader, that is where corporate cowboys operate. That is where corporate cowboys should strive to live, in level 3, the fucking top of the pyramid. We ought to be the cream of the crop when it comes to business operation, when it comes to facilitating innovation and creativity, when it comes to creating value. You want to talk about creating value in all spheres of our lives? That's where corporate cowboys live. That's where we thrive. Continuing. No firm is exclusive at any one of these levels in all operations. Many function vigorously in all 3. In the mid-1990s, Chiquita was at best merely legal in its labor relations and political contributions, while actively managing a relationship with the Rainforest Action Network on some environmental issues. When the company passed through Chapter 11 in 2001, it operated with creditors, shareholders, and employees somewhere between levels 2 and 3. Now, it is an open enterprise when it manages to high levels of performance, transparency, and engagement on labor standards and environmental care. In this chapter, we treat the open enterprise as the target and describe the features of such sustainably competitive firms. Maybe it's the way I read it, but like target to me came off as like that's our. Well, it could come off both 2 ways, right? It could come off as being the objective or being the target. You feel me? I won't dwell too much on the ideology behind being a corporate cowboy. If you are truly interested, go listen to the podcast, Corporate Cowboys Podcast, Season 1, Episode 1. Start from there. Shameless plug, but hey, this is for free, so go. The next subtitle here is, what are we managing here? Question mark. That's included. What are we managing here? The new integrity needs to be managed from the top. Board level governance, officer level leadership, and so on. A number of companies have already done this. Some have mandated a senior executive like the VP of Corporate Affairs, Human Resources, or Strategy to be responsible for stakeholder/sustainability objectives. Others have gone so far as to create full-time positions such as the Corporate Responsibility Officer or VP of Sustainability. Is this a passing fad like the Chief Knowledge Officers who proliferated during the 1990s in response to theories of organizational learning? Obviously, firms can and should exhibit integrity without a full-time executive, but to move the broader issues to the center of the corporate agenda requires at least a part-time, if not a full-time executive job assignment. What is the case for a broader mandate beyond basic integrity? Consider where executive mandates come from. Every big company has a chief financial officer and VP of human resources, HR. Most people roughly agree on the scope of these jobs. This is because we see both money and people as key resources which need careful stewardship. The case for a CFO is easy. Someone has to keep track of the cash and comply with myriad regulations from paying taxes to shareholder reporting. Finance pays for itself by minimizing taxes and getting managers to cut costs. Similarly, HR performs mundane administrative tasks like hiring and benefits. HR delivers added value when it ensures that you have the right people, that thorny personnel issues are solved, and that performance management helps keep employees focused on what counts. Simply stated, corporate finance stewards a firm's money, while HR stewards its people. What does, quote, corporate integrity steward? Can this, quote, what, be as intuitively and distinctively critical to firm performance as money and people? The case is becoming clear. Simply stated, the, quote, corporate integrity function stewards two sets of strategic resources: stakeholder relationships, that's the yin, and sustainable business practices, that's the yang. Are these resources intuitively distinctive and critical to business performance? This has already happened in many firms. And then there's a block quote here that says, Executive Vice President Stakeholder Relations, Lise Kingo. Lise Kingo? Executive Vice President of Stakeholder Relations? I don't know. There's a dash there. Executive Vice President, Stakeholder Relations. Yeah, I would imagine that. Of Stakeholder Relations. I don't know why they got to include the dash. Like it's a fucking, like, it's hyphenated, like it's special. Anyways, this Executive VP, Lise Kingo, is a member of the 6-person Executive Management Committee at Novo Nordisk, a $3.5 billion Denmark-based pharmaceutical firm. Her mandate is A, stakeholder engagement, which enables us to stay attuned to emerging issues and concerns, and B, the objective to balance social, environmental, and economic concerns in every business decision, which translates into both corporate and individual targets. Kingo nets this all out as licensed to operate, a key parameter of pharmaceutical companies these days. That's why trust and transparency are so important. What about the job title? Many in current use seem vague, like the EVP of Corporate Affairs, or narrow, the EVP of Stakeholder Relations. Coining the Chief Financial Officer moniker, we propose a new formulation that may be more on target, the Business Integrity Officer, the BIO. The term connotes commitment to values and principles, effective risk management, and governance stature, all vital to this mandate. It also has an appealing acronym. The balance of this chapter describes the mechanics of the BIO mandate. All right, the next subheading here, 10 characteristics of the open enterprise. And yeah, there's 10 characteristics, which they list them off here for us. Starts with a little preface. Open enterprises display similar qualities, 10 sets of practices that together shine out. In each of these, the firm infuses the values of the new integrity, that's honesty, meeting commitments, caring, transparency, and the maximization of economic, social, and environmental value. The first is leadership. This begins with the CEO and board and is visible to all. Number two, governance and reporting. Not a burden. Good governance and transparency drive engagement, clarity, integrity, and focused performance. Number three, strategy and entrepreneurship. The new integrity has unique implications for each industry, company, and business activity. In open enterprises, all plans address new integrity criteria clearly and specifically, both in the way planning is conducted, that's stakeholder inclusion, and in its content. Number four, corporate character. This is about embedding the new integrity into the DNA of the firm through such programs as internal communications, performance management, and training. Number five, brand and reputation. The new integrity is not spin, but it must be communicated. Infusing the brand with the firm's lived values enhances its values for customers, shareholders, and others. Number six, environmental engagement. Critical to success in the stakeholder realm is a healthy, stable, and open operating environment, sustainable ecosystems, peace, order, and good public governance. Number seven, stakeholder engagement. Open enterprises puts resources and effort into reviewing, managing, recasting, and strengthening relationships with stakeholders, old and new. Number eight, products and services. Sustainable innovation leads to long-term economic, social, and environmental performance. Number nine, operations. Open enterprises lower risks and costs by applying new integrity thinking to everyday operations. And number 10, information technology. Not just a driver of transparency, information technology is a powerful tool for enabling a firm's transparency, stakeholder engagement, and sustainability strategies. We discuss each of these qualities in the sections that follow. For each, we provide a set of, quote, outcomes, which, when present, indicate that a company has achieved the hallmark practice. We also describe, quote, strategies. These are actions that companies take to achieve the desired outcomes. Note that while the list is in rough logical order, these practices do not occur in any particular sequence in the real world. Companies can and do start just about anywhere. All the practices happen in parallel over extended time. Each entails roadblocks, setbacks, confusion, and contradiction. Change is work. Man, I've said that shit before. I'll say it again. Change is work, right? But because it's a different type of work, folks, executives or leaders are just motherfuckers who aren't keen to changing, who are not keen to adapting and staying up on their game, staying sharp. Any change to them is too much work just because it's something different, because they've lulled themselves into a sense of security. But security in corporate does not exist. You ought to keep moving. Do it moving. Keep changing. Keep up the pace. Otherwise, you'll get left behind. And I like nothing more than to leave folks behind. But at the same time, I have to keep my own crew on its toes. Keep them changing and adapting. Have them keep up with me. Got to be a leader amongst leaders in order to cultivate leaders. I'm not tooting my own horn or anything, but I'm just a corporate cowboy incorporating other corporate cowboys. Goes back to just being an associate, incorporating other associates. There's a gray box here, and I think it provides us a case study, which I'll go ahead and read for us. It's the Novo Nordisk, an open enterprise. Novo Nordisk, a Danish pharmaceutical company with 18,000 employees and operations in 68 countries, is the main case study. Yeah, it's a case study. Okay, what do you know? Is the main case study in this chapter. Though it's not a household name, the company is an award-winning global leader in transparency and stakeholder-focused sustainable practices. Novo was spurred into this terrain way back in 1970 when it was a manufacturer of enzymes for laundry detergent. Ralph Nader led a campaign that claimed the enzymes gave skin infections to the company's factory workers. Sales fell by 50%. A year later, the charges were proven unfounded. But Novo had learned the power of stakeholders driven by an emotional, social, and environmental issue. The scars are etched into the company's collective memory, and it made a commitment never to allow such an event to happen again. In 1990, the company initiated a formal process of engagement on the hotly debated issues of genetic engineering with NGOs, employees, and other stakeholders. It engaged in, quote, triple bottom line accounting and reports with external verification in 1993. It added social and environmental criteria to business unit and employee key performance indicators and balanced scorecard programs. Was there a cost? Perhaps, but the company's performance is robust. Despite 2002 troubles from a first quarter earnings warning and a canceled drug trial, Novo is an upbeat company in a downtrodden sector. Between 1997 and 2002, its revenues grew from 2.5 to 3.5 billion dollars, while earnings per share nearly doubled from 86 cents to $1.66. Novo's 2002 operating margin was 24% and its net was 16%. The share price has consistently outperformed the industry. For example, gaining 15% in the first 3 months of 2003 while the industry was flat. Diabetes, the root cause of nearly 1 in 10 deaths worldwide, drives 70% of the company's revenues. Insulin is the main diabetes drug. Novo has a 47% share of the global insulin market by volume and provides a variety of other diabetes-related products and services. It is also a player in homeostasis management, growth hormone therapy, and hormone replacement therapy. The company's activities inevitably expose it to controversy. While diabetes is more or less under control in rich countries, there's a couple of points here, so I'll read through them. The first point is, while diabetes is more or less under control in rich countries, it afflicts more than 100 million people in the developing world. The number will more than double in the next 25 years. The second, Novo relies heavily on genetically modified microorganisms to produce drugs. The third, it is an advocate for stem cell research. Number 4, it tests drugs on rabbits, mice, rats, and other animals. And number 5, Novo has supported industry efforts to protect pharmaceutical patents in developing countries. Novo's people and public statements are bracingly candid. It doesn't flinch from describing mistakes and challenges. Novo Nordisk has walked the walk of transparency for some time, but as it learned in 1998, no company, no matter how good, in quotes, can be complacent. Here's what happened. In 2001, Novo Nordisk joined 38 companies in a lawsuit against the government of South Africa, charging it with violating the World Trade Organization's Trade-Related Intellectual Property Agreements, that's TRIPS for short. South Africa had passed legislation giving itself the right to abrogate patent rights for any pharmaceutical product. Although Novo was not in the AIDS medication business, which was the main issue, it participated because it believed that TRIPS properly addressed the needs of developing countries. The lawsuit backfired into a global public uproar against the pharmaceutical industry, a crisis driven by the anti-globalization movement, enabled by the internet and fanned by the media. The crisis happened mere weeks after Lars Rabin Sorensen became CEO of Novo Nordisk. For employees who remembered the 1970 Ralph Nader campaign, it was the return of a surrealistic nightmare. On February 15, 2001, the headline on the country's leading liberal newspaper read, quote, "Danish companies impede delivery of essential drugs." This kicked off a crisis that continued for 2 months. ATTAC, a new Danish anti-globalization group, led the charge. Newspapers ran heart-rending human interest stories about AIDS in Africa. A massive demonstration rattled the gates of the company's Copenhagen factory. The media picked up and repeatedly ran a defensive statement by the new CEO that "we are not a humanitarian organization." The firm later said it was, quote, "the longest and most severe media storm our company has ever faced." Close quote. Sorensen's response combined spirit with spunk and engagement. He met the company's critics and went to the factory gates to, quote, "listen to and talk to the demonstrators, to get the feel of the people's sentiments and arguments against globalization." He defended the view that, quote, "we cannot give away our products or give up our intellectual property," while acknowledging the need to slash patent drug prices in developing countries. Sorensen and his Novo colleagues pointed out that well over 90% of medication needs in developing countries could be met with cheap, off-patent drugs like aspirin and insulin, that the real challenges were alleviating poverty and improving access to healthcare services. The drug companies in South America reached a settlement in April, whereby the cost of medications was reduced. Novo Nordisk announced a plan to tackle poverty and access. The Leadership in Education and Access to Diabetes Care, LEAD, that's the LEAD initiative, our response to ensuring better access to global health care. That was in quotes. It included formation of the World Diabetes Foundation with a 10-year commitment and a $60 million endowment. The foundation is an arm's-length organization with an independent board of directors. Its mandate is to advance national disease strategies, care capacity, and low prices, including practical matters like education, distribution of medicines, prevention, diagnosis, and treatment. Sorensen presented the idea to the firm's major institutional investors and won their approval. Quote, "They too expect us to act on our responsibility as a global corporate citizen." You might say that facilitating more and better diagnoses is merely a cynical plan to sell more insulin. Our view is that there's nothing wrong with a strategy that invests in delivering better, more cost-effective care in a way that is financially sustainable for the company that makes the investment. That right there, that quote right there, I entirely agree with. Because it's a way, I mean, maybe it's a special case given healthcare, given access to medicine and whatnot, but I believe that is how sustainable investment should be. You invest in your community to be able to empower the community, I guess, enrich the community, I suppose, but also allow the community to grow in a way that in the future yields better business, that yields more profit, right? And if doing so is just handing out diagnoses for free, like facilitating access to healthcare, and if this should happen to lead to an increase in diagnoses or just identifying who has diabetes or pre-diabetes, to be able to treat them earlier or to be able just to treat them effectively, I don't see how that's not a sound business plan. I mean, Novo Nordisk is doing all right by my book. The dispute, last paragraph here. The dispute with South America had a silver lining for Novo Nordisk. It fostered a new context, revitalized and more disciplined commitment to stakeholder engagement and the alignment of financial, social, and environmental outcomes. All right, the next little subheading here, leadership. Leadership. It is precisely because Novo's leadership was engaged with its stakeholders and had a strategic vision in place that Lars Sorensen responded vigorously to the South American drug patent controversy. The organization swung into action and stakeholders ended up trusting the company even more. Novo had been applying new integrity leadership strategies, that's from figure 9.2, for many years. We'll get to figure 9.2 in a bit here. Its practices have evolved in fascinating ways for simplicity. We will just describe how the company applied these strategies in the past couple of years. So figure 9.2, I'll describe briefly, is a table. On the left-hand side, it has outcomes. On the right-hand side, strategies. And the strategies obviously relate to those outcomes that are being sought, right? So if you want to achieve a certain outcome, you have to apply certain strategies. Pretty straightforward. On the left-hand side, then we'll start with top management commitment and focus. And for that, those strategies, you need visible CEO and board leadership. You need leadership by example. The second outcome is organizational commitment and focus. And the strategies necessary are director and officer assignments, transparent processes, and communications. The third outcome here is stakeholder belief. The firm is serious. And the strategies necessary for that are corporate values, code of conduct. And then the fourth outcome here is core values and charter defined. And the strategies necessary for that are a use of industry codes and engagement with corporate responsibility industry. Continuing then, Novo publishes 3 annual reports to stakeholders. Although reports are but the tip of the iceberg in transparent communications, Novo makes the point that person-to-person communication is far from important. They set the tone and begin to define a public record. Novo's reports are clear, informative, and logical. They consistently anticipate and answer questions. The annual review is a compendium of information and marketing content, including financials, activities and events, features, and news. The annual financial report is the official set of audited accounts and notes, and the sustainability report, also audited by a major accounting firm, reviews, quote, our strategies, activities, and targets regarding social, environmental, ethical, and socioeconomic issues affecting our future performance, end quote. All shareholders receive the annual review by mail and may opt to receive the other 2 reports. All 3, along with an archive of past reports, are on the company website. Sorensen's letter to stakeholders mostly discusses traditional financial and business issues, especially important after a tough year in which the company ultimately pulled through and met its targets. But Sorensen also describes Novo's focus on employee development, social responsibility, human rights, and environmental management. In the 2001 report, after a better financial year and on the rebound from the South Africa Challenge, Sorensen forcefully displayed his personal commitment to stakeholders and sustainable business practices right from the opening paragraphs. But effective CEO and board leadership requires more than words in a report or dialogue at a barricade. It must be systemic. EVP Stakeholder Relations, Lise Kingo, if you recall, is one of only 6 members of the company's Executive Management Committee. Hers is a full-time job, not an add-on for a senior marketing or human resources executive. The company first created this position in April 2002. The company's 2002 sustainability report, which Kingo edits and produces, says, quote, a particular responsibility for keeping the company's actions attuned to stakeholders' demands lies with the board of directors, executive management, and cross-organizational committees. Sustainability issues, close quote. Sustainability issues are on the board agenda twice a year. 3 cross-functional committees, that's environment and bioethics, social and industrial relations, and health policy, each chaired by a member of executive management, identify issues, set policies, and devise strategies, targets, and action plans. The underpinning of this all, the under, the underpinning of all this, the Constitution, as it were, is the Novo Nordisk way of management, which includes a vision, charter, and policies, what we think of as corporate values and code of conduct. Some aspects of these are homegrown. Quote, "We will be the world's leading diabetes care company. Our aspiration is to defeat diabetes." Close quote. Novo has also adopted several industry codes, such as the International Chamber of Commerce's Business Charter for Sustainable Development and the UN Global Compact. In 2002, company executives spoke at and participated in industry conferences, from the World Economic Forum to the Johannesburg Summit on Sustainable Development. Quote, no, not quote, sorry, in parentheses here, where it co-hosted a workshop, as well as many lower profile events. In 2001, Novo became a co-founder and main sponsor of Bridging Europe, a grassroots initiative for rethinking the continent's political institutions. It also co-founded the Nordic Partnership with 17 other companies and the World Wildlife Fund, aiming to bring sustainability into core company operations on the basis of a solid business case and stakeholder engagement. In addition, Novo works with socially responsible investment organizations and tries to push SRI up the agenda of the mainstream financial community. Don't fucking do it. Don't social justice water down, dilute capitalism. When you start doing that, you put the reins on what is organic growth, then you have synthetic growth. You have artificial growth. You start astroturfing, literally, this sense of virtue. You become what you hate, which is authoritarian, which is fascist, which is socialist, communist. You become exceedingly, overbearingly paternalistic, right? It gets in the way of business. It gets in the way of value creation and innovation. Anyways, Hewlett-Packard, Senior Vice President for Corporate Affairs, Deborah Dunn, is another active and effective business integrity officer. Dunn reports to CEO Carly Fiorina and is a member of HP's executive committee. She displays infectious enthusiasm and determination to change the way corporations behave in the world. Dunn is responsible for worldwide functions including social and environmental responsibility, e-inclusion, that's HP's program for bridging the world digital divide, emerging markets offerings, government affairs, public affairs, and philanthropy. She focuses heavily on the digital divide, where she seeks to apply HP's resources to provide solutions that can become deeply rooted. Some of Dunn's work is intensely local: Andhra Pradesh, Dublin, and East Palo Alto, while in other cases she engages in global diplomacy, the creation of a UN-sponsored microfinance program. That's in parentheses. Internally, Dunn is a key player in the development of HP's overall strategic plan, employee communications around stakeholders, and sustainability, and addressing breaches of corporate ethics. The next subheading here is governance and reporting. In the aftermath of 2002, Most observers agree that directors and officers must be independent. Governance must meet or exceed legal and industry standards. Executive compensation policy needs a rewrite, and a portfolio of good governance processes is essential, including objective performance assessments of boards and directors. See figure 9.3, and I'll describe it to you when we get there. Rather than march this well trodden ground, we take a tour of another core transparency topic: formal stakeholder and sustainability reporting, appends, of which Novo happens to be a leading practitioner. Every publicly traded company and every manager whose variable compensation depends on company performance understands that reporting is a two-way street. Yes, the stated reason to publish regular, detailed financials is accountability to shareholders, regulators, and the public. But financial reporting is also part of a feedback loop that changes behavior inside of the firm. It helps employees understand they are all in the same rowboat and makes them use common formats to describe results. Published results also benchmark performance against the competition and the economy. They help employees, customers, and partners evaluate the firm's financial dependability. Financial reports affect, in parentheses, for better or worse, how employees do their jobs, especially when bonuses are at stake. And here is figure 9.3. I'll briefly describe it for you. It's another table, again, with outcomes on the left, strategies on the right. So let's start with the first outcome. That's business integrity. Strategies for that include director/officer independence and meet/exceed legal requirements and pertinent industry standards. The second outcome is executive flexibility and performance. The strategy for that is good governance processes. The fourth outcome is perceived accountability to stakeholders. Strategies for that include transparent reporting, independently audited. And the fourth outcome here is access to capital. Strategies for it are full cost accounting, credible executive compensation model and process, and shareholder/stakeholder rights. Hundreds of businesses also report regularly on social and environmental performance. As with financial reporting, so with social and environmental reporting. The internal feedback loop is a key part of its value. At Chiquita, as we've described, reporting was a key driver of change and employee commitment at a time of crisis. Yeah, just a side note, if you don't remember, Chiquita was gunning down villagers and employing hit squads. Fucking savages. Continuing, at Novo, which embeds stakeholder/sustainability targets. Oh, if you want to know more about Chiquita, go listen to, I believe it's season 7, episode 6. I think. Don't quote me on that. If not, better safe than sorry. Start at season 7, episode 5, and it's not that one. Just start at episode 1. What the fuck? At Chiquita, as we've described, reporting was a key driver of change and employee commitment at a time of crisis. At Novo, which embeds stakeholder/sustainability targets in employee job targets, the annual sustainability report sums up the last year's accomplishments, sets targets for the next, and describes a current agenda of dilemmas that challenge the business. In parentheses, for example, how can we respect others' cultural beliefs and positions on a sensitive issue such as stem cell research and yet maintain a competitive edge in the quest to defeat diabetes? Many social and environmental reports are selective and self-serving sales pitches. They tout a company's purported contributions to employee health and safety or philanthropy, with no external assurance of these claims. Few reports, by contrast, rigorously describe financial, social, environmental, and corporate governance performance. Like financial reports, the best of them are designed and independently audited in accordance with publicly available, credible standards. There's a little gray box here with more Novo Nordisk information, so I'll go ahead and read that to you. The box is titled Novo Nordisk's Unique Governance Structure. Well, let's read about it. Novo Nordisk ownership is split between A shares and B shares. A shares are held by Novo AS, a holding company that itself is wholly owned by the not-for-profit Novo Nordisk Foundation. Novo AS owns 26.7% of Novo Nordisk shares. A multi-voting mechanism gives it 69.8% of the votes. So it's got a majority hold, essentially. It's got majority control. Novo Nordisk B shares are publicly traded via the Copenhagen, London, and New York stock exchanges. They are the most actively traded of Danish company shares. None of the Novo Nordisk 9 directors are company executives. 3, in accordance with Danish law, are elected employees. Another 3, including the board chairman and vice chairman, also sit on the board of its holding company, Novo AS. I don't know why they gave us that info. Maybe they want us to take a peek at its transparency and deduce whether or not some kind of conflict of interest exists. I don't fucking know, but I'm going to continue reading. Maybe the book will tell us. One problem is that social, environmental, and governance reporting are immature. Leading standards and standard setters have emerged only recently. The Netherlands-based Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, provides a widely accepted approach to the principles and specifics of economic, social, and environmental reporting within a context of stakeholder engagement. By April 2003, over 200 companies in 24 countries. By April 2003, my OCD won't let me continue. I gotta fucking redo that. By April 2003, over 200 companies in 24 countries. North American firms include AT&T, BC, Hydro, Chiquita, Dow, Ford, HP, McDonald's, Nike, P&G, and Suncor, affirmed they use GRI guidelines, but a handful, e.g. Novo and Johnson & Johnson, claimed to have met the stricter criterion of reporting in accordance with the guide. Ooh. So a lot of them claim to do it, and others are actually walking that fucking talk, man. Okay. Continuing, Bearing Point partner Eric Israel, a leader of its sustainability practice, comments that, quote, the meaning of citizenship for one particular company can be completely different than for another. How do you benchmark an organization and compare it to others in the same industry? Up to now, there's been no equivalent of generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP, GAAP, for social responsibility. That's where GRI comes in. GRI provides a template for a stakeholder/sustainability report, including, and there are a couple of points here which I'll read to you. The first, vision and strategy for sustainability, including a statement from the reporting organization CEO. The second here, profile, overview of the reporting organization and scope of the report. The third, governance structure, overarching policies and management systems in place to implement the organization's vision for sustainable development and to manage its performance. And the fourth here, economic, environmental, and social performance indicators. The indicators are the heart of a GRI compliant report. A couple more points here. First, direct economic indicators measure monetary flows between the organization and key stakeholders, as well as indicate how the organization affects stakeholder economic interests. These are conventional metrics allocated by stakeholder. For example, net sales and geographic breakdown of markets are mapped to, quote, customers. Cost of goods and services pushed to suppliers. Payroll and benefits to employees. Interest and dividends to providers of capital. And taxes, subsidies, and philanthropic donations to the public sector. The GRI, second point here, the GRI also suggests reporting on indirect economic impacts, namely the major externalities associated with an organization's products and services. Third point, environmental indicators concern an organization's impacts on living and non-living natural systems, including ecosystems, land, and water. These indicators are presented in both absolute figures and normalized measures, e.g., resource use per unit of output. The absolute figures provide a sense of scale or magnitude of impact, while normalized data illustrates efficiency and support comparisons from one organization to the next. Sample indicators are materials use, energy use, water, impacts on biodiversity, greenhouse gas emissions, rates of recycling, and incidences of fines for noncompliance with environmental regulations. And the fourth point here, social indicators enjoy, quote, less of a consensus than environmental performance management. They draw on international standards from the United Nations and the International Labor Organization. The indicators include employment creation, union membership, a measurement whose value is hotly contested, injury rates, and training rates. Many GRI social indicators use qualitative measures such as an organization's systems, policies, and procedures. Qualitative indicators include informing, consulting, and negotiating with employees over operational changes such as restructuring, worker management, health and safety committees, human rights, community impact of operations, political contributions, customer health and safety, and product information and labeling. In addition to its generic reporting guide, the GRI plans to produce sector and issue specific guidelines. GRI only solves parts of the problem. It mainly provides the what part of the new GAP, GAAP. The other issue is how to report. More precisely, how to verify whether a report is credible, whether it meets the needs and expectations of stakeholders. The reporting problems of the 2002 corporate governance crisis were not caused by a dearth of indicators. Rather, it was due to problems with compliance, with the spirits of disclosure beyond compliance, and with the quality of the audits and auditors that theoretically provided assurance of the report's quality. To address this problem, in 2003, Accountability, a not-for-profit UK-based institute, released a new standard to guide and assess the work of assurance providers, such as auditors and other third parties. Among the members of Accountability are the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants from the United Kingdom, Business for Social Responsibility from the United States, Cooperative Bank from the United Kingdom, Instituto Ethos from Brazil, KPMG, Learn from South Africa, New Economics Foundation from United Kingdom, Novo Nordisk, and PricewaterhouseCoopers. The Accountability Framework, AA1000 Assurance Standard, defines 5 principles for sustainability reporting. Will it give us those 5 principles here? Yes, they're listed here. I'll read them for you. The first, inclusivity. An organization's commitment to identify and understand its social, environmental, and economic performance and impact and the associated views of its stakeholders. B, consider and coherently respond, whether negatively or positively, to the aspirations and needs of its stakeholders. And C, provide an account to stakeholders for its decisions, actions, and impacts. The second, materiality. The assurance provider states whether the reporting organization, a company, has included the second point here, materiality. The assurance provider states whether the reporting organization, e.g., a company, has included the information that stakeholders need to make informed judgments, decisions, and actions. Information is material if its omission or representation could influence the decisions or actions of stakeholders. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much along the lines of how it's defined federally here in the U.S. in in regards to like selling securities and whatnot. The third, completeness. The assurance provider evaluates the extent to which the reporting organization can identify and understand the material aspects of its own sustainability performance. Where the assurance provider finds gaps, it should encourage the reporting organization to fix or describe them. Failing a fix, the assurance provider should describe them in its assurance report. The fourth here, responsiveness. The assurance provider evaluates whether the reporting organization has responded to stakeholder concerns, policies, and relevant standards, and has adequately communicated its responses in its sustainability report. Then the fifth, evidence. The assurance provider evaluates whether the reporting organization has provided adequate evidence to support the content of the report. Such standards are still immature and evolving, and other players like the International Standardization Organization are in the game. For now, the GRI and AA1000 are your best bets. I mean, this is back in 2002 though, so it's probably changed. It's probably become even more woke. Are your best bets. Continuing, not only for reporting, but for building structured models for transparency-driven stakeholder engagement. How cute. I mean, I like that it says here stakeholder engagement when, what was it, 3 chapters before? Go listen to it. 3 chapters before, it was talking shit about stakeholders, about how stakeholders aren't even doing the due diligence. They're just becoming more and more and more passive and just following the profit, not even following the money, just following the profit. So becoming less active. This social responsibility is just a form of virtue signaling, right? Where if a company claims to be doing it and puts enough promotion in your face that they're doing something about it, you're going to throw them money, regardless of what they're actually doing, right? So yeah, stakeholders can eat a dick too, I suppose. Continuing, 2 other pieces still come up short. First, stakeholder/sustainability reporting lacks a standard format or look and feel. We have nothing comparable to an income statement or balance sheet, a concise set of figures that nets out all the overall situation in a company. Second, few countries require or regulate stakeholder/sustainability reporting. Finally, voluntary reporting means that fewer companies report, and lack of regulation also means slack and disjointed reporting standards. Dog, you didn't see this coming? You didn't fucking see it coming? If there's no regulation, there's no fucking standards. They just, again, they're brochures, they're fucking pamphlets for social responsibility, for environmental sustainability. I'm sure they're fucking colorful and they paint a big picture. They're selling a dream, right? Anything to attract that investor money, anything to attract stakeholder funds, right? Stakeholder contributions. Continuing, regulation makes a difference, says a Bearing Point study. In Japan, which mandated environmental reporting and guidelines in 2001, 72% of the top 100 companies put audited environmental results into their 2002 financial reports. Following, but well behind, were the United Kingdom at 49% and the United States at 36%. Germany and the Nordic countries were in the 25 to 35% range, while in Canada, only 19% did the same. Novo Nordisk's Sustainability Report 2002 is explicitly, quote, in accordance with the GRI guidelines and AA 1000, duly assured by accounting firm Deloitte and Touche. In early 2003, or is it Touche? Or Touch, Deloitte and Touch. I mean, there's no accent on the E there, so I don't know if it's Touche. It could just be Touch. In early 2003, it was one of the few available textbook implementations of these standards, a model of stakeholder engagement, completeness, business reasoning, and inspiration. In addition to its downloadable reports, Novo provides statistical and qualitative information on its website. There is also a detailed cross-map of its reports to the GRI indicators. Nevertheless, there's room for improvement. Going back and forth from paper to various web pages can be confusing, and though Novo has been reporting for a decade, it provides comparative trend data for only a few indicators. All right, the next little subheading here, strategy and entrepreneurship. Strategy and entrepreneurship. Peter Drucker said half a century ago that the purpose of a business is to create a customer. Customers are the first, though not the only, stakeholders for any business, and meeting their needs is the essence of strategy. Meeting the needs of growing numbers of desirable customers over the long haul is the essence of sustainable strategy and sustainable energy, really, because it fuels itself. That's what sustainability means. So it's the essence of sustainable strategy. What is new in the age of transparency is that gaining the trust and commitment of its other stakeholders enables the firm to serve customers best. And then it refers to figure 9.4, which is up ahead. I'll describe it for you when we get there. As Toyota and Shell because it refers to figure 9.4, let me just describe it for you in brief. It's another table, right? And it's got outcomes on the left-hand side and strategies on the right-hand side. So it's just two columns, right? On the left-hand side, the first outcome is short and long-term optimization of financial, social, and environmental performance. The strategies relevant to it are embed in all planning processes, analyze industry/stakeholder/firm specific issue/risk/opportunities, and identify, analyze obstacles to change. The next outcome here is a competitive advantage, and the strategies relevant to it are applying creative, analytic, business casing techniques to multiple time views, right? So I'm assuming it goes, it gives us here the immediate, midterm, and long term. Yeah, that's good. Good time. Good views of time. Both immediate, short-term, and long-term goals, right? The next outcome, the third outcome here, is raising industry civil foundation. And the strategies for it are to engage existing/potential stakeholders in strategy development. The last outcome here is addressing obstacles to change. And strategies for addressing obstacles to change are engage with competitors, governments on raising standards, and develop a timetable with milestones. So yeah, that was figure 9.4, strategy and entrepreneurship. So continuing, as Toyota and Shell illustrate in their strategies for non-carbon fuels, such companies seek competitive advantage from stakeholder/sustainability strategies that focus on the customer. Where costs are inevitably associated with externalities, leading companies work with their industries to raise the civil foundation of sustainable business practice, again, with customers as the focus. the Kimberley process from chapter 6. And if you're interested in that, go listen to season 7, episode 6. That's where we reviewed and read chapter 6 of The Naked Corporation. So this chapter 6, the Kimberley process, is one example. The diamond industry, which was prodded by consumers, governments, and NGOs, that industry got better and agreed to eliminate the purchase of gems that financed vicious wars in Central Africa. Best-in-class companies don't just have a few great integrity programs. Their policies require all plans to address stakeholder/sustainability issues along with competitive, financial, human resource, information technology, and other core factors. They encourage and reward entrepreneurial stakeholder/sustainability initiatives, and they require planners to engage with stakeholders while making their plans, not after the fact. Novo Nordisk describes its strategy framework for sustainability in 3 tiers. And it says here, go look at figure 9.5. I'll briefly describe figure 9.5 for you here. And that is, it's titled From Strategic Objectives to Business Goals. Oh, and it gives a little description here. It says, in the areas of bioethics, environment, health and safety, and social responsibility, the strategic objectives are built into the annual balanced scorecard targets for relevant units. At production sites, for example, targets for reduction of water and energy use reflect the strategic objective to improve eco-productivity. The people strategy, in turn, and its specific targets applies to all organizational units. Nice, nice. So, figure 9.5, from strategic objectives to business goals, is just another pyramid. It's a pyramid, and this one is split into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers, including the peak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The very bottom, the bottom layer, is called short-term targets. These are from 1 to 2 years. The second layer, the second step up, are medium range targets. And those are from 3 to 5 years. And then moving on from there, there are indicators in the third layer. In the fourth layer, there are strategies. In the fifth layer, there are policies. And then that sixth layer, the peak, the pinnacle, there are strategic objectives, right? I would imagine that those go toward informing corporate culture in achieving and in planning for your short-term and medium-range targets, with the overall goal being inculcating your organization from top to bottom and bottom to top with strategic objectives that are acted on automatically, right? But that's just me, Alex. I'm over here pontificating. I'm that's just me elaborating, going off on a tangent, right? Spitballing, brainstorming some. That's all. That's all. But I'll read ahead. I'll go ahead and read along, and we'll see if I was right or not. And typically, I mean, your boy Alex doesn't miss, right? Unless I'm shooting from the hip. If I'm shooting from the hip, fanning the hammer, bat, 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 right? Then, you could expect 1 or 2 to be off mark, but they're not stray. They ain't stray. I might be off mark, but they're not stray. Continuing then. So, the strategy framework for sustainability in 3 tiers by Novo Nordisk, right? So the first is the corporate governance structure, which, quote, defines our commitments, and that's described above under, quote, leadership. The second, stakeholder engagement, which, quote, enables us to stay attuned to emerging issues and concerns, end quote, right? Number 3, target setting and systematic follow-up procedures, which, quote, help ensure continuous improvement and exchange of better practices in the organization, end quote. All right, okay. In order to attune its strategies to stakeholder interests and sustainability objectives, Novo squarely tackles, quote, strategic dilemmas. In 2002, these included, and there are a couple of points, 4 points. The first, how to ensure diligent observance of risk management while nurturing a spirit of innovation and the pursuit of opportunities. The second, how to improve access to diabetes care by making profits more affordable in developing countries while sustaining a profitable business. I think that point was poorly written because how do you make profits more affordable? don't you want to make don't you want to make access that's by the service and products more affordable in developing countries? Yeah, no, maybe that one was miswritten. The third point, how to respect cultural beliefs and positions on questions like stem cell research while maintaining a competitive edge in the quest to defeat diabetes. And the fourth, how to justify to shareholders that investing in non-material assets, such as environmental management, is good for business and preserves share prices. Lise Kingo describes the Novo Nordisk learning curve, that's figure 9.6, as a formal process for moving issues from leading edge to mainstream company practice. Kingo's 27-person stakeholder relations group incubates and manages an area until it becomes fully embedded in business processes across the company, at which point it lets go and moves on to newer topics. Real quick, I'll describe for you figure 9.6, and that's titled Novo Nordisk Learning Curve. And it also provides for us a little description, like the last figure, like figure 9.5. It says here, the Novo Nordisk learning curve reflects the process of addressing issues, beginning with the initial impulse from stakeholders to framing our response and, as we learn, to fully integrating this response into business processes. For example, environment and health and safety issues are well integrated in the business, whereas assessing the socioeconomic impacts of our activities as part of decision making is an emerging issue with which we are still coming to grips. For each key issue, we have identified indicators that will help provide reliable and quantifiable data upon which stakeholders can base their assessment. Okay. Continuing then, there is a block quote here by Novo Nordisk. It says, the stakeholder group is like a greenhouse. We spot new trends and figure out which will be more important for Novo Nordisk going forward. We spotted human rights 5 years ago. Yeah, these motherfuckers acting like that's novelty, like that's new, that's a discovery. Human rights were important only 5 years ago, dog. No, the fuck at really? Okay, well, enough sarcasm, Alex. Continue. Through our engagements with stakeholders, politicians, or opinion leaders, we try to stay attuned to the emerging issues. When we sense that something is coming up that may affect our company's long-term business interests, we commission an external review to assess the extent to which it involves us and the state of our compliance. You like that pause there? You like that pause? Because if you read into that, if you read it between the lines, the only thing they're paying for, the only thing they're outsourcing is just a report. That's it. They're not financing or funding any programs for change. No, it's just a report of how much more they need to cover their ass. This is really just a CYA report. How much ass they have exposed out there and how much more compliance they have to shore up in order to not have their ass exposed. All right. It says here, this usually takes a year. Out of this process, we determined that we needed to do better on human rights and diversity, as well as access to healthcare. So we launched 2 projects, then a proactive strategy and a toolbox. Okay. Baby steps, right? It wasn't completely all what Alex made it out to be, but baby steps is better than nothing. Okay. Next we started to do stakeholder engagement and integrated these initiatives into the company. Okay, so we got some integration going forward. Nice. I'd like to see to what degree, right? I would like to see to what degree, whether or not it's proactive or reactive. More than likely, it's reactive. But again, boy, baby steps, baby steps. Come on, Alex. It says here, equal opportunities and access are still in stakeholder relations since they are still incubating, not yet fully in the line. Environment, health, and safety, on the other hand, are more mature and now managed mainly in the line. End block quote. Novo sets both corporate and individual targets that balance social, environmental, and economic goals. These goals effectively the company's management framework are built into corporate and business unit balanced scorecards with measurable targets across a wide variety of domains. Examples of targets that the company set and achieved or for long-term targets has on track to achieve in 2002. There are a couple of points here of the targets that the company has set and achieved or are set to achieve, right? The first, vice presidents to establish plans with targets for addressing equal opportunity issues. The second, 90% of suppliers evaluated on environment and social performance. Okay. The third, to develop a sustainable business model for helping people in poor countries gain access to diabetes care. Okay, are you sure it's not profits care like that last list we fucking read? The fourth, 80% of all employees to meet and dialogue with patients. Okay. The fifth, 90% of all managers with direct reports to establish one business goal on how they will develop their people. I like that one in particular. I like that one because it gets managers active, not complacent, not content with the status quo, but active in terms of developing their team as professionals. Now, to what extent that's informed by social justice and equal opportunity ventures, right? Whether or not that's watered down the innovative and creativity pool, you know, one can't really say because that's not what these reports are looking for. Those reports haven't been funded so much because they're not really out to seek innovation. Corporations in this respect are only trying to attain an appearance of social justice, an appearance of social equity. They're not actually taking affirmative steps. They might call it affirmative action, but it's not affirmative steps. All right. But I digress. I don't want to make this too politico, but when you twist and turn and you live in the age of spin, shit, even capitalism sounds bad, right? Number 6. By 2005, but yo, I'm a corporate cowboy. It's capitalism till I die. Alex, stop distracting. Stop interrupting. Number 6, continuing. By 2005, to increase annual eco-productivity of water by 5% and of energy by 4%. And then number 7, to contribute to the total removal of animal tests for biological product control by 2004. Okay. One example of Nodo's, remember those? One example of Novo's approach is its strategy for sustainable diabetes care in developing countries, sustainable profits care in developing countries. The business opportunity is significant, but so are the challenges. In China alone, where some 30 to 40 million people are estimated to have type 2 diabetes, the diagnosis rate is 10 to 15%, compared with 50% in Europe. This is an obstacle to the company's own market growth, but also an obstacle to treatment for patients. Rather than simplistically peddle drugs, the company has adopted a holistic strategy in countries from China to Costa Rica. The goal is to create infrastructures capable of competently delivering diagnosis, care, medicine, and equipment. It has decided to knock down the key barrier, the widespread ignorance regarding diabetes among sufferers and caregivers. Novo fosters national plans, strategies, and programs of awareness and education for patients and health professionals. These, in turn, require partnerships with local champions and seeding the political will of governments. Novo framed the challenge as a dilemma. Insulin, the main drug for treating diabetes, is off patent and cheap enough to price for the poor. But the company also has the world's best pipeline of new advanced medications for the diabetes epidemic. The costs of R&D and production make these drugs affordable only in rich countries. Novo's LEAD initiative, LEAD initiative, and World Diabetes Foundation will help raise diagnosis rates and get insulin to patients quickly at little direct return to Novo. Little direct. So there is still return. It's just little direct. All right. Okay. While paving the way toward a future in which some patients gain the means to seek more advanced treatments. This is a classic alignment of doing well by doing good at the highest levels of business strategy. These initiatives place Novo at the center of future diabetes programs in the world's largest emerging markets. Hold up. Yeah, why did I mess that one up? These initiatives, it's because I was thinking of doing well by doing right, right? And I think that goes back to what, chapter 2? Yeah, I think that sparked something in my mind. I don't know if that goes back to chapter 2 or chapter 3. If you're interested, go listen to season 7, episode 2 or episode 3. And if it's not either one of those, start with season 7 or episode 1. And if I'm wrong, start at season 1, episode 1. Welcome to the Corporate Cowboys Podcast. Shameless plug. It says these initiatives place Novo at the center of future diabetes programs in the world's largest emerging markets. They mean China. And Costa Rica. Well, not Costa Rica, just China. China's fucking huge. And I bet India's up there too, but they're not really speaking on it. I wonder why. They illustrate how a firm does work, like patient education, that in rich countries would be paid and performed by government, leading to improved outcomes for a broad collection of stakeholders, from patients, that's customers, to physicians, that's partners, communities, employees, governments, and shareholders. The next subheading here, corporate culture. Ooh, my favorite. If stakeholder/sustainability objectives are to be met, they must be lived every day in the corporation, be embedded in its DNA. As Lise Kingo says, quote, thousands of employees at Novo Nordisk have some sort of sustainability work, providing health and safety programs, access to diabetes care, and so on. Every employee must be aware, attuned, and motivated. This, in turn, requires consistent internal messages, exemplary programs, effective performance, and compensation management, targeted education and training, and the use of technology to enable the entire system. Oh, by the way, that quote closed a while ago. I just continue reading. My bad. I forgot to close that quote. The balanced scorecard and annual sustainability reports are the foundation of Novo's corporate culture programs. See figure 9.7. All right. I'm going to briefly describe to you figure 9.7. It's titled corporate culture. Now, it's a similar table like we've not seen, but we've read it before. We've come across before. 2 columns. The left-hand side are outcomes. The right-hand side are strategies for those outcomes. On the outcome side, the first one is values and code of conduct to guide employees' behavior. Strategies for it: embed new integrity metrics in scorecards and performance management. Okay. Use reporting cycle to drive learning and improvement. Okay. The second outcome on the left-hand side, it's plans, programs, processes, and daily interactions embed the new integrity. Okay, so the new integrity is going to be embedded via plans, programs, processes, and daily interactions. So, what are the strategies for it? There is to promote the purpose, the value, the business case, and the game plan internally. Okay, I like that promoting a game plan internally. I hope it's from top to bottom, bottom to top, right? Seems like it should be a comprehensive game plan in order to promote internally and everybody feel like they need to be hands-on with it. At least I think. Number 3, on the outcome side, there is the improvement of new integrity outcomes, and the metrics is continuous. So they want to see continuous improvement. Strategies for that, they include education, training, and career development. Nice. They include use of new integrity knowledge management systems. Okay. And lastly, develop information and communications technology, tools, and infrastructure. I think that goes without saying because this book was published in 2002. That's already happened, fam. It's fucking 2023. And, we live in a corporate world order. If you don't have infrastructure set up, or you're not building infrastructure, or you're not leasing, using, exploiting somebody else's network, you're fucking your own bag up. You're fumbling the bag hard. All right, continuing. Using these tools, Novo communicates its strategies and programs, benchmarks its successes and failures, and structures performance and compensation management activities. Kingo's personal performance targets are identical to the enterprise-wide indicators listed in its sustainability report. They include tangible measures of living the company's values, access to healthcare in developing countries, employee safety and development, use of animals, eco-efficiency, and company financial reports. If your values are genuine, your employees will know. Yo, I like that because it's true. If your values are not genuine, employees tend to see through your fucking bullshit and they just show up for the check because they gotta eat, right? But there's no passion, there's no drive, there's no real dedication, no commitment, right? They just show up. They're just another body in the building. So the lease stays paid and the air conditioning stays on. That's it essentially. If there is no value, there is no passion. Okay, and if they're not, right? And if they are not, if the values are not genuine, it means if the values are not genuine, they will eventually figure it out. I want to say almost off rip. I think in today's day and age, again, because this book was published in 2002, in 2023, most every employee can see through the bullshit. And if they can't, it's because they're either novices or just really naive, innocent. I mean, morally innocent, like they've never been fucked over in their life, some way, somehow, right? They've just lived in a bubble of luck and fortune, which, I mean, those individuals are few and far in between, but they do exist. They exist. If your values are not genuine, your employees will know. And if they are not, they will eventually figure it out. Novo describes the centrality of its employee programs to its entire strategy. Quote, more than any other stakeholder group, our employees are the essence of Novo Nordisk. We therefore consider it essential to monitor how Novo Nordisk employees worldwide think about the company, their job, and their opportunities to develop their skills and competencies. Yo, Novo Nordisk doing something right. I mean, at least they're reporting it. They're reporting they're doing something right. Okay. End quote, by the way. The company internally promotes and celebrates its many stakeholder/sustainability initiatives. In Novo's 2001 employee survey, 85% agreed that social and environmental performance are important to the company's future. The survey gave the company subpar grades on employee development metrics such as the presence of personal development plans, ability to stay up to date on work-related issues, and future resource requirements planning. As you might expect, Novo responded with an aggressive, metrics-driven employee and career development program. Novo organizes its programs for employees in a quote, people strategy with 5 focus areas: winning culture, customer relations, attraction and development of the best people, developing people, and equal opportunities. Novo tries to make strategies for its employees and other stakeholders mutually reinforcing. I like that. I like that. Go Novo. Novo, I mean, it's taking steps, right? So when I said that they're taking baby steps, those baby steps are getting larger. It looks like they're taking bigger and bigger steps. It's like they're finding a stride, right? It's like they're getting they're getting into is it a stride? It's like, yeah, it's like they're finding their stride. So 2 points here. There's 2 points. I'll read them to you. The first is employees gaining meaning, motivation, and ideas when they connect with the end users of their products. Meanwhile, research on the psychosocial aspects of living with diabetes shows that relationships are as central to successful care as products and services. Providers who learn from this insight can gain a competitive advantage. That's nothing new, fam. Even working in sales, the more you know about your clients and the more you can relate to your clients, the better client interaction you're going to have. And the stronger the relationship you can cultivate, the stronger the rapport you can build in order to sell, right? That shit ain't new. Anyways, Novo asked all its employees to meet with people with diabetes and other healthcare needs that it serves. In 2002, 80% had patient dialogues. Said a Novo regulatory affairs executive in India, quote, "The discussion was very thought-provoking. It made me feel that I should start contributing by whatever means possible." Nah, that sounds like fucking puffery. That sounds like just like a gap filler. They're really taking like age-old knowledge and trying to apply it in this new age context, right? And they're dropping their regulatory affairs executive in India in here. I don't know for what, inclusivity. a second point. The company has a series of workplace equal opportunities programs based on the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Novo decided in 2001 that, in the age of globalization and talent wars, it needs access to an increasingly diverse labor force. Quote, "recognizing diversity as an opportunity rather than a problem." End quote. I mean, okay, good luck. The company has its work cut out. It definitely does. In Denmark in 2002, where the vast majority of its employees live, only 5.9% were immigrants or descendants of immigrants from developing countries, below the modest national ratio of 7.6%. Dog, all right, dog, never mind. Okay, I'm not gonna speak on it. The studies are out there. This book was published in 2002. I think programs and initiatives that are structured around force feeding inclusivity are largely unsuccessful, and the results are out there. Fucking go look them up. I won't make this episode political because that's not what reading this book is about, right? As objective as I want to be, right? Some objectivity low-key becomes offensive to motherfuckers who can't handle it. So, continuing. Only 198 top executives, that's vice presidents, senior scientists, and above, of 198 top executives, only 20% were women. Okay. The company is tackling this challenge with its usual array of actions. Oh, there we go. You see, that's where you slip up some, right? Its usual array of actions. That's where you slip up, right? Because these aren't proactive. These are reactive initiatives. This isn't innovative. This isn't anything innovative. All right. So it's tackling this challenge with its usual array of actions. You can just call it usual shenanigans. Staff assignments, ooh. Formal objectives and metrics, formal. You know what formal means? It just literally means check the box. That's all. It literally means show up for the check, right? Show up for the paycheck and check the box. Formal objectives and metrics, it's a quota. It's literally just a quota. And a variety of proactive programs. Oh, nice. I like how you put proactive there. We've already mentioned some of Novo's tracking and reporting mechanisms, group and individual targets built into the balanced scorecard, and externally audited sustainability reports. Novo has another unique mechanism called facilitations. That's arm's length internal audits that review each dimension of the business on a 4-year recurring cycle. Just a quick note. You know why I didn't address that variety of proactive programs that Novo's got? Because qualifying any program as proactive literally means that anything else you've done in the past hasn't been proactive. The whole point of a program is advancing an initiative. That in itself is proactive. The fact that you have to qualify it additionally, it's as if justifying your formal objective and metrics, justifying your staff assignments, justifying that affirmative action fuckery, justifying it by calling it proactive, you're doing yourself a disservice. Again, it's shooting yourself in the foot and then throwing the barrel in your mouth. All right. Novo has another unique mechanism, called facilitations. That's an arm's length internal audits that review each dimension of the business on a 4-year recurring cycle. The facilitation function resides with the Novo Group, a holding company that controls Novo Nordisk and several other firms. Facilitators interview employees on how they perceive the quality of their management and how it reflects the company's fundamental values and approach to business. Facilitators write up recommendations to management and follow up on the action points. In 2002, 95% of action points were fulfilled. Organizations that wish to make their commitments stick invest to educate and train their employees, more like inculcate and socialize, or inculcate and condition, inculcate and indoctrinate. Novo has a big training program that provides the knowledge to identify bottom-up opportunities to reduce costs through environmental and materials management. Okay, all right, okay. Other companies have embraced large-scale training on ethics and values, often under the rubric of compliance. I mean, fam, if you've noticed, I'm reading this in a way that's rather cynical, right? And that's only because as a corporate cowboy, I believe it's my duty. It's my duty to commentate. Not only while I read this book to you, but comment on some of the sideways, is it propaganda? Just some of the sideways fuckery that takes place in corporate that they try to pass off as something virtuous, when in actuality, it's not. All right. Facilitators write up recommendations. 95% of the action points were fulfilled. Organizations that wish to make their commitments stick invest to educate and train their employees. Novo has a big training program that provides the knowledge to identify bottom-up opportunities to reduce costs through environmental and materials management. Okay. Other companies have embraced large-scale training on ethics and values, often under the rubric of compliance. Kate Kozlowski, let's just continue. Kate Kozlowski, Director of Business Ethics and Compliance at Ford Motor Company, says that for a company such as hers, legal and ethical issues crop up everywhere. Quote, thousands of people work on compliance across the company, whether in building cars, providing credit and financing, car rentals, parts, services, and warranties. It's part of doing business. There's a compliance price tag in every part of the company. The only way to ensure predictable and consistent standards in a 300,000 person company like Ford is to provide a lot of training. Quote, and now it's not just compliance, says Kozlowski. There's more pressure for training on ethics. Sure. Continuing, Ford sources online ethics and compliance training from a company called LRN. Many of the modules are off the shelf. Others, which Ford developed with LRN, will then be sold to other car companies. Much of LRN's training uses the quote dilemma as a teaching construct, acting out the legal and ethical issues of making a tough decision. Kozlowski says, quote, we use online training to create awareness, but for the next level, we use face-to-face education. For example, teaching senior management the code of conduct, dealing with issues of globalization, and when we encounter a tough issue like Sarbanes-Oxley compliance, hold on, Sarbanes-Oxley compliance, sometimes the compliance and ethics group does the training. Other times, it's human resources. Okay then. The next subheading here. Brand and reputation. Marketing and business integrity have not always been comfortable bedfellows. Often enough, marketers have seen being good as an issue of message rather than substance, or have sought to leverage philanthropy or limited stakeholder value while downplaying painful truths. As they say, quote, let me put some lipstick on this pig. I like that. The Marlboro Man is an apt symbol for this problem. He was the advertising personification of clean living and rugged American values. But he was a lie. David Millard Jr., the original Marlboro Man, died of emphysema in 1987. After David McLean, another Marlboro Man, died of lung cancer, his widow sued the company for damages. Later on, Marlboro Man Wayne McLaren testified in favor of anti-smoking legislation before he died of lung cancer. In 2003, Marlboro's parent company, in a torrent of sparkly waterfall advertisement, changed its name from the tobacco-stained Philip Morris to the wholesome-sounding Altria Group. Now the company openly admits that its product kills customers and campaigns against smoking. Meanwhile, it continues to advertise where it can legally do so while expanding into emerging economies. Right on. Go Philip Morris. Look at you. Fucking people up with your shitty ass product. You could have just stayed natural, and instead, no, you want to, I don't know, have a retarded ass product. Literally, retarded. It's slow, it's backwards, it's regressive, not progressive. That's funny. This this is an extreme case. It says, let's face it, nobody in the business of cigarette manufacturing can be a truly open enterprise. We don't have to face it. And they can be truly open, but they choose not to. They refuse to. Why? Because, I don't know, fucking dinosaurs. They're old. They're old and curmudgeon-y. I mean, if they were open to change, they probably could change. But again, as I've mentioned before in this episode and in past episodes, change to motherfuckers who don't want to change. Change. Any change to motherfuckers who do not want to change is more work, right? Even, like I said, if it's a different type of work, if it's work that's actually easier, if it's different, it's more work because all they know is fuckery, right? All they know is the bullshit that they came up on. So if you show them how to do something new, even though it's better, more efficient, more effective even, they won't want change. Sorry. Because it says here they can't truly be open because the product causes harm. Well, yeah, it causes harm because they synthesize the product. It's not natural. They synthesize it. Marlboro's stakeholder-friendly message is impossible to reconcile with its behavior as a pusher of life-threatening substances that also add costs to overburdened healthcare systems around the world. Okay, cool. Cynicism. Cynicism is the next sentence here. Take a break, Alex. Relax. Take a breath. Cynicism regarding the branding of, quote, doing good is common, and not just among activist critics of, quote, greenwashing, i.e., whitewashing with an eco tint. And I don't think I'm an activist. No, I'm a corporate cowboy. I do work on my own. And the result of my work typically is better. I leave, I think a corporate cowboy's objective in life, the end goal is to always leave their corner of the world better than how they arrived. But again, I digress. I'll continue reading. I won't distract as much, okay? The trade journal Sporting Goods Business wondered recently whether, quote, cause marketing makes any difference to the bottom line. Cause marketing, I'm assuming being like, oh, we're marketing for this cause. Like, yo, we're advertising for cigarettes, but the cause is, lung cancer or some shit. An article discussed a Danskin cost-benefit calculation of contributions to the Susan B. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. Quote, Danskin prefers this grassroots approach over extensive ad campaigns for celebrity/athlete sponsorships. It prefers them over extensive ad campaigns or celebrity athlete sponsorships. Quote, we integrate event and cause marketing, and our efforts mean a lot to our customers, many of whom make buying decisions based on our partnership, says Joyce Darkey, Danskin's SVP of Marketing. End quote. Indeed, breast cancer is a coveted cause. It afflicts affluent target customer segments, the ethical dilemmas are few, and it is associated with wholesome sports events like Run for the Cure that use sponsors' products. Also, participation can be more cost-effective than organizing a marketing campaign for a customer's own products, which requires hard work with ad agencies. You pay the sponsor fee, you send some volunteers, and everyone wins. Hey, it seems like a fucking circle jerk to me. I don't know if, this book was written in 2002. I don't know if by 2002 they had already figured out that treatment exists, right? And it is possible that the cure is out there, right? But there's so much money. There's so much money in that pink ribbon. There's so much money in merchandising that pink ribbon that, fam, if breast cancer were cured, Susan B. Komen, the foundation would fucking go bankrupt. But there's so much money. It's in their best interest to keep breast cancer alive, right? They're Alex about to get all cynical. It's in their best interest to take the donations folks put into the Susan B. Komen Foundation and lobby for parabens and for that, is it phthalates or phthalates? Phthalates? I think it's phthalates. To lobby for oxobenzenes and shit like that. To get breast cancer. It's in their best interest. Why? Because if there were no breast cancer, there'd be no Susan B. Komen Foundation. All right, continuing. The business case is easy and compelling. Yo, Alex just made a dope business case. I don't know if you saw that. I don't know if you heard that. The business case is easy and compelling, while the project matches the mandates and skills of the marketing department. Such causes, while worthy of support, present few of the dilemmas or organizational demands of which Novo Nordisk speaks, or that Nike, a fellow firm to Danskin in the sporting apparel business, took on when it decided to stick its neck out and respond to the challenges of working conditions in the industry supply chain. Dog, I'm reading this in 2023. This book was published in 2002. Nike still has some heavy allegations against it. So, you draw whatever inference you need to from that. I'm going to continue reading. Companies like these have made deeper choices, as we have discussed. They have taken on the task of rethinking their entire mode of operations in line with a transparent stakeholder slash sustainability agenda. What they increasingly conclude is that their brand image must convey the malleability and universalism of such engagements, warts and all. See Figure 9.8. Looking at Figure 9.8, I'll briefly describe it for you. It's titled Brand and Reputation. Okay. It's another table with outcomes on the left-hand side, strategies on the right-hand side. I believe we're getting a sense of how this goes now, right? So the first outcome on the left-hand side is improved and sustained brand value. Strategies for it include review brand messages and marketing programs. Second outcome is growth and market share. Strategies for that include engage financial sector and key stakeholders in change dialogue. Okay. The third outcome is customer loyalty. And strategies for that include strengthen transparency communications to all stakeholders. All right. And the fourth outcome here is low cost of capital. Strategies for that include describe strengths, admit weaknesses, and publish improvement benchmarks. Also, review crisis management programs and monitor stakeholder issues. All right. Seems pretty straightforward. A lot of it is logical. I'm surprised they spend their money to, quote, rediscover this bullshit and then report it to the public. It's as if they never knew. It's as if... Continuing. They are open and candid about the dilemmas they face and describe their failings and limitations honestly. When a crisis happens, they respond quickly and take responsibility for their actions. So, when you go to the website of Shell, Ford, and some other risk-accepting, engaged corporations, you will find discussion forums that include comments from their harshest critics. How should marketers rethink their role? Paul Taff, chairman and CEO of marketing consultant Hill and Knowlton, says that spin is dead, but its legacy means that the marketing function itself has a credibility problem. And no, it's not. Spin is not dead. Quote, marketers seem to have figured out that transparency is the universal enabler of trust, but ironically, they have been labeled as the most deceitful in the past, the part of the organization that doesn't need to tell the truth. This is thanks to situations like Nestle and tobacco. There are still people in public relations who are spinners, but this is not sustainable. Yeah, it obviously is not. It hurts credibility over the long haul. End quote. Taff argues that the inevitable but unpredictable crisis is the litmus. Let me reread that. Taff argues that the inevitable but unpredictable crisis is the litmus test of a company's ability to respond. Quote, the costs of a crisis increase substantially if you haven't identified where it will come from and how you will respond to it in advance. For example, after the Brent Spar incident with Greenpeace in the North Sea, Shell had trouble recruiting university graduates. And after a crisis, there is often a court case. It is less painful and costly when the company has responded quickly, behaved with integrity, and managed the issue. Shareholder, NGO, media activism mean that every company will have more crises every year. So this moves from being exceptional to being a normal part of business. End quote. The problem is most companies don't train themselves for crisis through everyday transparent behavior, nor do they prepare in advance by defining crisis management processes and assignments. TAFE's pessimism notwithstanding, the quote, transparency virus is spreading. Even some not particularly, quote, sustainability focused companies have learned the value of adding open dialogue to their brand messages. As we described in Chapter 6, go listen to it, Season 7, Episode 6, computer companies Dell and Apple host a wide variety of customer conversations on their own websites. In some of these conversations, visitors even defend a competitive product. From a marketing perspective, the message is clear. You're going to be naked, so you better be buff. I like that. I like that. Next subheading here is environmental engagement. You can't have a successful company in a failed world. Conversely, you can't succeed if the world won't let you. Businesses have an economic interest in the well-being and support of both their socio-political and natural environments. See Figure 9.9. Figure 9.9 is titled Environmental Engagement. And it's a table, 2 columns, the left-hand side, outcomes, right-hand side, strategies. Let's get it. The first outcome is peace, order, and good governance of external operating environments. Strategies for it include support good government, anti-bribery, and obey local laws. Have a local presence, local people, local partnerships. Okay. The second outcome is a license to operate. And a strategy for that is support social diversity. Sure. The third outcome is preservation of global ecosystems. The strategies for that include combat global warming and threats to biodiversity. No, whatever. And identify and address stakeholder investments or interests. I'm sorry, interests. Well, I mean, I guess they're also investments, time, energy, and attention. Sure. Continuing then. Most observers agree on the socio-political challenges, even if they disagree on the risks to the natural environment. Businesses do well when trust and social capital are high, where people obey the law voluntarily, not by compulsion, where corruption is minimal or absent, where citizens are educated and healthy and can make a decent living, and where life is safe and peaceful, not filled with fear. Most agree that these conditions are wanting in too many places. And yeah, more so now in 2023. It's not like shit's gotten better. Come on, corporate, what the fuck? All these fucking reports and you can't make any progress? God damn. Novo gets involved in reshaping the socio-political environment. Socio-political? Really? Why does Novo get involved in reshaping the socio-political environment? How? When? With who? You see what I'm saying? Like when you learn to read between the lines, this is just intermeddling. This is just political meddling, governmental meddling. It's lobbying. It is literally bribery, even though they have anti-bribery here as one of the goals. Okay, fam, sure. Let's just call it lobbying now. Novo gets involved in reshaping the socio-political environment. The company sees, quote, political indifference, especially among young people, as a huge challenge to democracy, end quote. Its Bridging Europe initiative with the World Economic Forum, oh, here we go, aims to involve young people in shaping a sustainable Europe through multi-stakeholder engagement. Activities include an interactive website involving 1,000 young Europeans among 33 countries, Illuminati confirmed, working papers, and international forums. The Vice President of Corporate Communications, John Iwata, reels off IBM's approaches as a global corporation for fostering supportive external environments. The company's national operations around the world are run as local businesses with local executive teams, hiring, and promotion. Damn, how is that new? All right. Okay. Alex, relax. IBM's diversity programs are long-standing and deeply rooted. The firm manages I'm over here like reading to myself. The firm manages environmental matters, philanthropy, and volunteerism with as much discipline as other parts of his business. None of this is simple. Local ownership and management don't always protect. None of this is simple. Local ownership and management don't always protect McDonald's restaurants from violent protests or Coca-Cola from politically motivated competition. Yeah, for more info on those about like McDonald's restaurants, I believe that was episode 4, or episode 5, where they talked about McDonald's franchises getting trampled over. I believe it was over wages. Yeah, I believe it was over wages, and I went off on a rant about artificially raising minimum wage and why it just raises the price of food, and a lot of folks working don't even deserve minimum wage in some instances because they do nothing to they do nothing to, what's the term called, to promote themselves. They do nothing to separate themselves, to highlight themselves. What's the term? It's on the tip of my tongue. To differentiate themselves. Yes. They do nothing to differentiate themselves from everybody else, every other wagey who just shows up to work for the paycheck. The service might still be shit. There's no drive in or passion in what they do. I get they're flipping burgers, right? But even just saying flipping burgers sounds denigrative. I don't know. I mean, I do know. Alex knows, but continuing. That's a rant. Stop distracting me. Such conflicts reinforce Novo's case for the business value of moving tolerance, trust, and democracy to an even higher level on a global scale. Corruption is a core socio-political challenge, pervasive in many countries. Some firms like IBM, Celestica, and Shell will walk away from deals if they must bribe to get them. For a cash-rich company with 9- and 10-figure profits, this is a viable, even a competitive strategy. For others that live closer to the line of survival, such choices can be difficult, even life-threatening. Literally life-threatening. They're probably threatening lives to get contracts out there with some help of some 3-letter agencies that I won't name, but no, literally. Go read. I recommended the book. I think it was episode 3, chapter 3, right? Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. Go read that shit and understand it. However, all too many companies with the economic wherewithal continue to fail on this important issue, as Transparency International points out. Most agree in principle on what is the right thing to do, even if they fail to practice it. Ironic. There is less agreement regarding the natural environment. Many argue that the risks of global warming and other threatened catastrophes are immaterial, or that they pale against advancing technology and continual improvements in the standard of living. Though things may not be quite, quote, good enough, they continue to get better, and we can trust in progress to prevent the risks from turning to disaster. Bjorn Lomborg, a young Danish political scientist, statistician, and author of The Skeptical Environmentalist, is often cited for this viewpoint. Quote, it's a block quote, "Global warming, though its size and future projections are rather unrealistically pessimistic," ooh, get it there? Unrealistically? Oh, get it? "Is almost certainly taking place. Almost certainly. But the typical cure of early and radical fossil fuel cutbacks is way worse than the original affliction. And moreover, its total impact will not pose a devastating problem for our future. Nor will we lose 25 to 50% of all species in our lifetime. In fact, we are losing probably 0.7%. Acid rain does not kill the forests, and the air and water around us are becoming less and less polluted." End quote. Many scientists see the world differently. The editor of Scientific American commented on Lomborg's book as often marred by an incomplete use of the data or a misunderstanding of the underlying science. Even where his statistical analyses are valid, his interpretations are frequently off the mark, literally not seeing the state of the forest for the number of the trees, for example. And it is not hard to be struck by Lomborg's presumption that he has seen into the heart of the science more faithfully than have investigators who have devoted their lives to it. It is equally curious that he finds the same contrarian good news lurking in every diverse area of environmental science. End quote. Executives of oil companies, damn, that was one quote. You could have put that shit in a block quote too, damn. And executives of oil companies like BP, Shell, and Suncor, for whom life would be simpler if they could agree with the likes of Lomborg, still say that global warming and the loss of biodiversity threaten the sustainability of their businesses. Novo Nordisk's view is, quote, a company's ability to effectively manage environmental risk is under the lens of government authorities and environmental watchdog groups, as well as investors and the general public. We are well aware of the environmental risks associated with our operations and are proactive in assessing those risks and taking action to address them. Novo, end quote. Novo follows the precautionary principle in assessing environmental risks, a product of the 1992 Rio de Janeiro summit. The principle says that in the face of threats of serious or irreversible damage, lack of full scientific certainty should not be used as a reason to postpone cost-effective measures to prevent environmental degradation. While I agree with that point, it's a side comment. While I agree with that point, right? This shit is so politicized at this point. Like, that's why I'm not stopping to comment like every 5 sentences, because it's gonna drag this episode. It's gonna drag this chapter out with the rants, right? And what we want to do is be able to take in the book for what it is. Take in the book objectively without having Alex fucking rant and whine about it, right? Because while I appreciate that it's by the free press, and while you ought to appreciate that I'm reading it to you for free, obviously I'm not going to exploit and take advantage of the situation to fill your ears with bullshit you might not want to hear, right? Right. It says here, Novo is directly affected by another environmental threat, loss of biodiversity. Pharmaceutical innovations continue to be mined from the world's shrinking store of natural life forms. Yeah, I agree. Novo explains its environmental methodology in a block quote here. In consultation with a range of stakeholders, we carefully consider the risks that may arise from current operations as well as from past and future actions. Insufficient risk management can damage a company's reputation and, in worst cases, its license to operate, while superior risk management opens the door to new business opportunities. End quote. One Novo environmental initiative addresses threats to animal and plant species that arise from disposal of one of its product lines, estrogenic hormones. A leading scientific hypothesis blames growing increases in reproductive disorders among males of various species around the world on estrogen-based female sex hormones in the environment. These hormones come from the urine of pregnant women using contraceptives or hormone therapy. Fucking hormones. These hormones come from the urine of pregnant women using contraceptives or hormone therapy, and from the direct disposal of estrogen-like chemicals. Do I need to say that it turns the freaking frogs gay? Novo says, go look at, do me a favor. Hey, Google, what is atrazine? Joking. I'm just talking smack. Hey, Siri, what is atrazine? All right. Novo says that it disposes of estrogen production waste safely. So the main environmental impacts arise from patient use. Of course Novo's gonna fucking disclaim that. Bro, you expect Novo to be that transparent? Nah, fam. I said baby steps, not fucking splits. You feel me? These are tiny steps. These are miniature steps. Maybe not even steps forward. It might be a fucking moonwalk backwards, right? They're just doing it for show. They could give fucks. They could give a fuck about how they ruin the environment as long as they get cashed out at the end of the day, fam. That's why you need corporate cowboys. That's why corporate cowboys exist. If you had somebody on the inside, crack a couple skulls, break a couple kneecaps. Anyways, Novo says that it disposes of estrogen product waste safely, so the main environmental impact arises from patient use. Of course, blame the patient. What? Why wouldn't you blame the patient? The patient is already fucked up. They can take a little bit more blame. The company has begun to tackle these issues. It has published and shared with relevant authorities and interested stakeholders the results of one study, fucking count it, one study that showed a significant impact on juvenile male fish, even at low concentrations. They probably had, I don't know what, like a pregnant woman piss on a male fish. Next subheading here, stakeholder engagement. When engagement with stakeholders is viewed as important, it receives management focus, planning, and discipline. See figure 9.10. 9.10, figure 9.10 is called stakeholder engagement, and it's a table. It's a table like we've seen before. 2 columns, left-hand side, outcomes, right-hand side, strategies for said outcome. On the left-hand side, you've got the first, a B-Web and an A-Web engagement and competitive performance. Strategies, that's the model, measure, and manage value exchanges and relationship development. Engage in direct personal dialogue, supplemented by reporting and technology. Nice. The second outcome is results effective prioritization of stakeholder programs and initiatives. And strategies for that include seek optimal outcomes for all stakeholders. The third outcome here is best-in-class employees and partners. And strategies for that include to apply corporate values in stakeholder engagement processes. Bro, how the fuck is this novel? How is this a discovery? All right, Alex, relax. And also another strategy is to enhance partnering capabilities. Yeah, you think? I might reconsider future books. Maybe don't get them as dated last time, right? Stick to like, I don't know, 2015 and after. I think 2015 and after is a healthy date. It's healthier, right? Because it's less old. All right. It says here, Novo's business web analysis includes the socioeconomic impacts of its production and consumption activities. The company charts a, quote, distribution of created wealth that maps where cash comes from, that's 100% from customers, i.e. people with healthcare needs and healthcare providers, and where it ends up. In 2002, 55% to suppliers, 34% to employees, 6% to investors and lenders, and 9% to the public sector via taxes, with 4% taken from cash reserves for future growth. The way Novo frames this analysis illuminates the depth of its stakeholder thinking. It refers to suppliers as external economic stakeholders and employee income as a measure of the market value of people's productive capabilities. This is nothing new. It's just dehumanizing people. When what you want to do is rehumanize business, it's just dehumanizing people. It's dehumanizing your stakeholders, right? It's dehumanizing your actual suppliers. It's dehumanizing your employees. Impressive, too, is the extent to which Novo depends on the allotment of corporate personnel to ensure the personal touch. A couple of points here. The first, meetings with neighbors to reduce environmental impacts at production sites. Okay. The second, evaluating suppliers' social and environmental performance. I don't know why, but okay. The third, okay, never mind. The third, personal meetings between employees and patients. Okay. The fourth, partnerships with NGOs on animal welfare. Partnerships with NGOs on animal welfare. There we go. The fifth, partnerships with business organizations to promote sustainable development. The sixth, raising public debate on stem cell research and the need for revised legislation. The seventh, putting diabetes on the agenda of the European Parliament. The eighth, building national healthcare capacity with local authorities in developing countries. Do you not see a pattern here? Is this not lobbying? Is this not lobbying, right? Now, they say they're against bribery, but it ain't bribery if it's lobbying, right? Ooh, it ain't bribery if it's love. All right. Number 9, are we on 9? Funding international research partnerships. Okay. 10, supporting educational programs for engineers from ethnic minority backgrounds. All right. 11, public awareness and fundraising activities on World Diabetes Day. And 12, timely and proactive media relations on suspension of clinical trials. The next little subheading here, products and services. Transforming your core offerings to adapt to a stakeholder/sustainability agenda can be daunting. See figure 9.11. Just really quickly here, figure 9.11 is titled Products and Services. Yet again, it's another chart, it's another table of sorts, with outcomes on the left-hand side, strategies on the right-hand side. The first outcome we want is competitive advantage, and strategies to achieve it are revisit offerings in light of stakeholder interests, economic/social/environmental criteria. The second outcome is sustained value innovation, and strategy for that is to use competitive differentiators. A lot of these just seem borderline logical, but I guess for those who haven't been in business, this book is a nice overview of what a lot of folks have essentially known since they first got into business. And in 2002, which is when this book was published, apparently was novel, some type of novel discovery, right? The third outcome is maximized economic, social, environmental benefits. And strategies for that are identify and resolve trade-offs and multi-phase parallel rollout. So essentially getting a lot done at the same time. You feel me? It's just better management. It's just what they should put down is better management, more efficient leadership. But no, if it's as if this were a movie, there's a saying somewhere that says, if the protagonist dies in the first half hour of the movie, or if the protagonist saves the princess in the first half hour of the movie, then there's no movie. It's just a 30-minute little retelling of what happened. But no, we've got to appreciate the journey, I guess, that a lot of companies were taking in finding a social conscience, finding an environmental conscience, a sustainability conscience, and growing conscience of their fucked up actions. All right, continuing. Tobacco companies are in the tobacco business whether they like it or not. They can sell out and use the money to try something else, but such action does not solve the fundamental problem. Other industries, like healthcare, are intrinsically, quote, good. So when a Novo invents new technologies, e.g. to simplify patient self-administration of insulin injections, or broadens out to research and tackle the psychological and social aspects of the disease, as it has recently done, cynics can argue that such actions are calculated business innovations sugar-coated with virtue. Many industries are somewhere in between. They offer some degrees of freedom to firms that see competitive advantage in sustainable products and services. The first point, IKEA responded to critics and adopted new principles for furniture materials and design. These resulted in new product ideas and a stronger brand. A second point here, Whole Foods Market is a darling of Wall Street, distinguished in the grocery business by being, quote, the world's largest retailer of natural and organic foods, highly selective about what we sell, dedicated to the stringent quality goals, and committed to sustainable agriculture. Keep in mind, folks, this was 2002, right? Since then, Whole Foods has sold the fuck out, and a significant portion of their 365 brand comes from overseas. And whether or not they adhere to agriculturally sound practices, I'll just keep reading. A third point here. Hewlett-Packard reinforces its image as a caring, ethical company when it rewards consumers who recycle inkjet packaging. Though we wonder about the future of this materials-intensive product. What? Just you're scared of some printers, dog? Continuing. The next subheading: operations. Operational matters, how the firm does what it does, arise both inside and outside of the firm. See figure 9.12. Just real quick, figure 9.12 is another table. Outcomes on the left hand, strategies on the right. The first outcome here, by the way, this table is labeled operations. The first outcome, on the left-hand side, is industry-wide responsible performance. And added strategies to achieve this include manage against new classes of risk. That's integrity, stakeholder, social, environmental. Second outcome is no free riders. Strategies to achieve that are to integrate social and environmental factors in quality, cost, and process management. A third outcome is risk reduction, license to operate. And strategies for this are to cultivate trust and information sharing in business webs. An outcome on the left-hand side, another outcome, that's the fourth now, is to lower transaction costs. And strategies for that include the cultivation of trust and information sharing in the business web. Outcomes number 5, to process and eco-efficiencies. So process efficiencies and eco-efficiencies, I guess. And a strategy for that is to support supplier assessments, education, and audits. A sixth outcome is quality. And strategies for that include to raise voluntary industry standards and seek regulation where necessary or mature. Finally, number 7 outcome is it number 7? Yeah, number 7 is appropriate and efficient regulation. And that is actually incorporated into the strategy of raising voluntary industry standards and seeking regulation where it's necessary or mature. I don't know, man. It sounds like cuck bullshit to me. This is the practical implementation. Continuing though, this is the practical implementation of everything we've been talking about, be it sharing information with employees, customers, shareholders, and other stakeholders, or realizing social and environmental policies and goals in everyday business processes and practices. Yes, folks, this refers to, I believe it's season 7, episode 2, chapter 2 of this book. Go listen to episode 2 if you're interested on stakeholder webs and business webs, right? Because the facilitation of communication and the sharing of information is essentially what drives a lot of these initiatives, a lot of these outcomes, and is rolled up into a bunch of these strategies. In order to put these strategies into action, you need the type of infrastructure that makes communication easier, that makes the sharing of information easier, more efficient, so that more people can move on the same information together at once, or at least in conjunction, in collaboration with one another, and can move congruently. Every firm will have its priorities. One that many are now tackling is eco-efficiency, the alignment of quality and cost-effective processes and procedures with good environmental practices. Another is transparency itself. Full and proper disclosure to employees, consumers, regulators, shareholders, and community representatives. Nestle, Nike, Home Depot, and De Beers illustrate how firms face risks to reputation and performance from issues that arise outside their own firm's boundaries. In a world of business webs, stakeholders increasingly hold firms accountable for the actions of their suppliers and other business partners. In addition, business webs are easier to build, more efficient, and manageable when information sharing, trust, and social capital are high. Novo Nordisk seeks alignments between these two factors, social responsibility and trust-based partnership, in the way that it now works with its business web. The company believes that setting high standards of the environmental management and human, i.e., employee rights, communicating these standards to suppliers through dialogue and monitoring compliance ultimately increases the trust that contributes to operational efficiency. With several years' experience in managing supply chain standards on environmental issues, Novo launched its human rights program with a series of supplier workshops in Europe, Mexico, India, and Japan. The objective was to consult key suppliers and external experts on how to assess social performance in the supply chain. The company also trained 100 employees, mainly in purchasing, on the issues and dilemmas of social responsibility. Novo says this training effort, which had strong management support, greatly fueled the success of the overall program. In its 2002 launch year, the program achieved several targets. There are a couple of points here which I'll read for you shortly. The first, 90% of key raw material suppliers and a range of key service and engineering suppliers completed an environmental and social questionnaire, 300 in total. The second point, the vast majority of suppliers responded, quote, very positively to the initiative and delivered satisfactory information on environmental management and their positions on labor and human rights. A third point, all new supplier contracts include a clause stating mutual commitments to the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Labor Organization Conventions, and the International Chamber of Commerce's Business Charter for Sustainable Development. Suppliers agree to, quote, promptly report inconsistencies with these principles to Novo Nordisk. I wonder what... Don't be cynic, Alex. Don't be cynical. I was about to say, I wonder what Novo Nordisk is doing with these fucking reports, with these complaints. They could be doing nothing. They could be wiping their ass with them and just, going about their day. But again, we mentioned baby steps in the past. Maybe they're doing something. Maybe they're taking steps to rectify the situation. But seeing as how it's about social responsibility, I doubt it's about actual progress or advancement. It's more than likely just about the company continuing. The company declares that it aims to, quote, eliminate the risk of having suppliers that do not live up to basic human rights. It formed a cross-functional committee supported by external experts mandated to take action on violators if need be. In 2003, Novo did an overall assessment of results and extended the program to other areas, including China, South Africa, and Brazil. Equally important from a program design perspective, the company began to move beyond supplier self-assessment and incorporate supplier environmental and social metrics into its formal audit systems. The next subheading here is Information and Communications Technology. As we described at the start of this book, information technology, figure 9.13, may well be the most powerful single force for transparency in our time. Let me read for you figure 9.3. I'll describe it for you. It's, again, another table outcomes on the left, strategies for those outcomes on the right. The first of this table is called Information and Communications Technology. The first outcome is more efficient and effective delivery of stakeholder/sustainability strategies and objectives. The strategies for that: define and resource stakeholder/sustainability ICT vision, objectives, plans, and metrics. Outcome number 2, early warnings of risks and threats to firm or stakeholders. Strategies for that include to embed stakeholder/sustainability requirements in existing ICT services. That's Information and Communication Technology Services. It's short. It's an acronym, abbreviation. The third outcome: easy, usable stakeholder access to information. Strategy for that is to create new user-friendly applications to advance specific stakeholder/sustainability strategies. And the fourth outcome here is improved engagement, collaboration, process management with stakeholders. And strategies for that include to leverage new and emerging technologies. Okay then. Continuing. Firms routinely use IT to communicate their agendas, notably by publishing their sustainability reports on the web. Yet rarely do they fully capitalize on the power of IT to drive, enable, enhance, and embed their stakeholder/sustainability agenda in the everyday life of the firm and its stakeholder interactions. Most companies already use technology in all sorts of ways to enhance transparency and meet the needs and desires of stakeholders. And they also have many systems in place which, with minor changes, could meet such needs even better. Firms need to develop consistent messages and engagement models for their portfolio of what we call, quote, stakeholder relationship management applications. These encompass today's customer and employee relationship management tools, emerging partner relationship management tools, and future tools for managing relationships with shareholders and communities. Furthermore, a financial business case can be made for various new applications that, for example, use information to make business processes more, quote, eco-efficient, or wrap information value around existing products and services. Every transparency and stakeholder mandate should include an IT mandate, and every IT function should be mandated to rethink its application solutions to embrace the firm's new integrity strategy. For example, today, some companies have partner relationship management software that tracks the financial, delivery, and product performance metrics of suppliers. IT managers should think about how to enhance such applications to also provide reporting on environmental, working conditions, and other stakeholder sustainability metrics. In the absence of such initiatives, opportunities will be missed, costs will be higher, and some risks will not be mitigated. One not so small example. A key issue in this entire area is compliance. How does a company ensure that its 150,000 employees on all continents, quote, do the right thing in accordance with its values and policies, stakeholder commitments, and the law? Kate Kozlowski, we've heard of her before, we've read her before, the lawyer responsible for compliance programs across Ford, describes how the company uses its employee portal to enhance engagement and support around the world. It's a block quote coming up. Ford Law is our legal access website. Everything is online. Anyone who needs to find a trademark lawyer or agreement can find it. If someone has a legal question or issue, they can access Ford Law and search for legal forms, memoranda, or frequently asked questions, find a lawyer, send feedback, or seek advice on compliance or an ethical issue. We get 15,000 intranet hits a week and 30 to 50 email messages each day. We tried for years to increase awareness about compliance. This finally did it. And we also get advice to people quickly when they need it. A second piece is LawPAC, our Law and Policy Awareness Center. It has over 100 training modules on ethics, export rules, safety, and so on, translated into several languages. There are 20-minute tutorials, handbooks, names of expert contacts in the legal department, and so on. Thanks to the intranet, employees feel a much greater sense of ownership in the company. Before, senior managers got a daily news clip sheet, physically, in paper form. It only went to senior managers and they never passed it on to their staff. You see, that's where senior management was fucking up the bag. And it took until what? It took until Ford came upon some issues that they thought about, oh, this novel discovery of the intranet and using employee portals to keep everybody updated. Nah, that was just senior management fucking up, fumbling the bag, becoming complacent, and not running the ball like they were supposed to. Don't get me started. And I won't get started. It only went to senior managers and they never passed it on to their staff. How sad. Now, on the intranet, everyone checks the clip sheet. Unedited news about Ford, good and bad. Everyone, whether a clerk or a vice president, finds out. We all know if the company lost a lawsuit in California. We get thousands and thousands of hits on the clip sheet every morning. A systematic strategy, end quote, by the way, a systematic strategy on IT-enabled transparency, stakeholder engagement, and sustainability means a variety of possible investments. You can't do them all at once, so prioritize them and roll them out over time. There are a couple of points here. The first, information access tools will provide the right information to the right people at the right time in accessible formats. Didn't I just say that? Didn't Alex just say that? You want teams to work in sync? Then they all got to know the same thing at the same time and know what moves to make from there together. All right, I'll leave that be. It may be as simple as an annual report, downloadable form from, I messed that sentence up. It may be as simple as an annual report, downloadable from an enterprise portal or a website, or it may be a daily summary, as we've suggested above, of corporate risks across the spectrum of issues, supplemented by real-time alerts when needed. Such daily summaries might depend on rolling up outputs from a variety of incompatible applications across the enterprise. Here, advanced technologies like web services may deliver key information to business analytics and reporting tools. A second point, event monitoring technologies typically provide real-time information about happenings in the physical world. They can warn about the occurrence or impending occurrence of workplace or environmental disasters. Such technologies are becoming ever smaller, faster, cheaper, and sophisticated. A third point, process-enabling applications include customer relationship management, supply chain management, and the like. Firms can improve stakeholder trust, reduce inefficiencies, or enhance effectiveness. Firms can improve stakeholder trust, reduce inefficiencies, or enhance effectiveness through the use of timely and accurate information in their business processes. These, in turn, lead to reduced transaction costs, stakeholder loyalty, and faster/better/cheaper outputs. Many process tools are specific to an industry or activity. For example, trucking fleets now use computerized maps to help drivers choose efficient routes. Now, a generation of such maps also provides information about traffic jams and road hazards and how to find preferred gas stations. Such applications are truly, let me turn the page here, truly eco-efficient. They save money and reduce consumption of carbon fuels. If all that we've described in this chapter seems complicated, well, it certainly is not simple. And of course, we've barely covered the highlights. Like anything that is worth doing, transparency and the new integrity require a lot of disciplined work. Just a final note on this chapter. Yeah, it requires a lot of disciplined work, but that's only to get the new groove to be made into a new groove, to be made routine, the new program to be programmed, if that makes sense. And I've mentioned this earlier in this chapter and in previous chapters as well, that when you try and bring in change, when you try to introduce change into a system that already operates on a status quo, even if it's a shitty exchange, right? Many will say, especially senior management will say, don't fix it if it ain't broke. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've been doing this since the dawn of time or whatever the fuck, right? Even if the change itself is just different work, but it makes the work in the long term better, maybe it reduces the amount of work required. It's just a different, like a tweak in the operation or the process that creates more output, or frees up more time, frees up money and time and energy in the organization. But for some, they're just so stuck in their ways. They've become old and cantankerous that they don't want to fucking move when they're told that there is a better way to move. What do you do to them? What do you, hold on, Alex. What do you do to what can you do about them is what I meant to say. Fucking relax. I get this is a Corporate Cowboys podcast, but I'm reading a book. Let's not get too graphic, right? This is a free service. If you need services of some other kind. But yeah, that's my parting thought about that, is that it's not as difficult as this book makes it out to be. Granted that this book was published in 2002, so some of the process, some of the applications, right? Otherwise, it would have used a short term apps for it. This was 2002, so what? The iPhone 3 was out, I think it was. We're talking a decade ago, an easy decade ago. But in today's day and age, you would think that such apps exist, and no, I mean, they still want to treat them as some kind of uber exclusive project management, like fucking, I'm sure you guys know which ones they are, like Monday and Asana and some others. It's as if it's as if no one else but project managers and executives think about innovation and creativity and efficiency. The regular person isn't as dumb as the average person, right? The regular person is not as dumb as the quote unquote average person, because most folks say that, well, picture a person of average intelligence and they're in the middle, right? And they're still pretty dumb. Like maybe they can't grapple with concepts of theoretical physics, right? But then you think about the people who are below them, and they're not smarter than a fifth grader, right? But even fifth graders aren't that dumb, right? Sure, they might not be mature, they might not be intelligent, they might not be wise, right? But they're not dumb as far as finding inefficiencies, identifying opportunities for creativity, for applying creativity, right? All it takes is someone to walk the talk. Unfortunately, a lot of organizations depend on senior management, on senior leadership to actually steer them and guide them somewhere. And many times, senior leadership is incompetent. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They've grown stale. They've grown complacent. They've adhered to a status quo for so long. Why would they change it? They're on their way out. They're retiring soon. I mean, they could stand to be helped into early retirement. But we'll close the book there, and that concludes Chapter 9 of The Naked Corporation: How the Age of Transparency Will Revolutionize Business. I've been your host, Alex. Thank you very much for allowing me to read to you and vent, right? Provide a little bit of commentary on what's on what this book is proposing to us in terms of its value. Tune in next time as we continue reading The Naked Corporation. Thank you very much. Have yourselves a great one.